Before I tell you my story and do my talk, I want to tell you a funny story that happened to me last week as I was driving to the desert, and I talked about it last week at Palm Desert in my talk. So I was in the car driving, and I decided to call my uncle, very sweet man, because his wife, my very dear aunt, passed during COVID. So I just called to check in on him, and he was sitting in the bedroom with his, in my aunt's bedroom, looking at albums, pictures of the past. And when I called him, he was in the middle of looking at an album of me. She put a big album of all my shows and all. And he says to me, don't I sound like Philly? He says it to me. He said, "Jimmy, do you have any idea how handsome you used to be?" And at first I thought, I was speechless. And then he went, "No, really?" He said, "Your black hair and your chiseled face, you used to be so handsome." I'm like, this is getting worse. And then I just said, "Well, Al, I said, I'm still a pretty handsome man." And he said, "Oh, you're attractive, but you used to be really handsome." Yeah. And we talked for a while, and then when I got off the phone, I went, "Do I still have that button?" I was like, "Yeah, guess it's still there." But it was interesting to realize that. I was like the relative, because last week my whole talk was about the relative, the past and the present, and is there a way to marry it so that the past doesn't drive you? So as I go into this week and I was looking at, what do I want to talk about this week? I got it last night. I knew what the concept was, but I didn't really have my talk. And then last night, we had our Christmas caroling party. And it really is about, for me, the caroling. It's nice that everybody comes and they brought such amazing food and jambalaya, and I made my turkey chili, and there was just so much food. Amazing deviled eggs from Pauline, which I finally got one at the end of the night. Carolyn brought all of this amazing stuff, including wassail. So it was just an amazing evening. But for me, it's about the caroling. And not the caroling where we sit in our house and sing at the piano. It's the caroling where we go out into the world. And this was our first time in a few years, so I wasn't sure how the caroling was going to go, but it was our most successful. People came out of their houses. Some men, one guy opened his picture window and sat there with looked like a 2-year-old baby, just listening to it. It was just so beautiful. But the story I want to tell you about is this one house we went to. And we did. Susan Edwards Martin really helped a great deal, and Margaret Owens and I, the three of us, were a very strong hold on the songs. And we picked 5 songs that we sang throughout the whole about 45-minute walk. And the reason why caroling, the caroling itself is really, to me, what the night is all about, is because you get lost, you become selfless, because you're just giving. You're just sharing some part of you. Whether you can sing on pitch or not, it didn't matter. So we got to this one house, and it was all decorated, and I knew that there were a lot of children in that house. And I also knew that they had a child in the house who probably has never heard us sing, because I think he's only 2 or 3. So he wouldn't have been there, 3 years ago when we came caroling. So we started singing at their house, and so there's about 40 of us, 50 of us, and we're all right in front of this very lit-up house. And it started out with just 2 of them came out, and there was an older woman and a child, maybe like 12, 13, and then another one came out, and then this little 3-year-old, y'all remember this? Came running out the door like it was like the second coming. He just came running out, ran around the yard, came running in and out of us, and we're all singing, and he is just going wild with excitement. And we were all just verklempt. We were just amazed at his energy and what he was doing. And really, it really was about energy. He was so excited by this. There was an absolute energy, a palpable energy to it. And it was so cute because he had a little plastic house on the lawn, and he's running around, and finally he just ran into his own little house, threw open shutters, And I just have to say, it was very hard to keep singing because I had these tears in my eyes. But everybody just kept singing. And there was something about the energy of this little boy that was contagious. And we already had really good vibrations going on. We'd already sang at about 5 or 6 houses. But when this little boy came out, it really shifted, I felt, our whole energy as a group. Because we were communicating. We really felt, I'll speak for myself, I felt this connection to this whole neighborhood. To the child reminded me of my childlike wonder. Reminded me of the excitement that's available to me, reminded me of a love that has nothing to do with anything other than the love that is pure and natural. This, I'll say 3-year-old, it could be 2, this innocent child reminded me so much of what this season and what life itself really needs to be about. So for those of you that didn't get to go Christmas caroling last night, next year, think about it, because to me, it's all about that 45 minutes. There was a woman who lives right behind us, and I hadn't realized that till Kevin pointed out. We were literally right, our house was right behind this house, and she is a widow, a recent widow, and she came out and just stood in her driveway waiting for us to make it down the street. And we stayed and sang 3 songs for her. And I don't know if you could see it, but her tears coming down her cheeks. She was just so grateful. That's the kind of connection you have the ability to make every day, not just once a year for Christmas caroling. And then our last house, there was a 20-something couple who came out of the house, pulled a bench up and sat on a bench like they were going to watch a concert. And so we gave them one, and we just sang. And we just sang I think we sang 3 of our 5 songs, and it was just beautiful. It was such a beautiful night, and we have done Christmas caroling parties now for 20 years, I guess, as long as we've had a church. And this one was quite magical, especially coming out of what we've been through for these last 2 years. It suddenly made sense to me. Even though we are one, there is a connection that is so, so, so important. I mean, connection. The connection with that little boy, with the woman. That's what makes us alive. The energy that we are is an energy that is connected to everyone on the quantum level. But moments when we are consciously awake to that connection, that's what this season's all about. How conscious can we be? Can we be more conscious and less unconscious of what our behaviors are all about, of what it means to connect to one another? Brene Brown put it this way. If you give me that slide, Thor. She says, I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. When was the last time, and it may have been just moments ago, when was the last time that you let someone know they were valued? I don't just mean a hello or a smile, that they're worth something. We live in a world today where it is imperative that we let everyone know they're worth something. When I came out of the front door to start the Christmas caroling last night, there was a guy leaning on the tree, and I thought, is this a guest of someone's that someone brought? And I didn't know who he was. He was just a guy leaning on my pine tree. And I said, hi. He said, hi, sounds great. I said, thanks. I'm waiting for people to join me for the caroling. I said, we're about to go Christmas caroling. Do you want to join us? He went, oh, yes. And he got right into the middle of our group and just sang through the whole thing. We find out later, because he came back to the house afterwards, that he was the musical director of a Catholic children's school. And so, I'm glad he joined us. He's a singer. But he was, when I got to talk to him just individually, he was like, everyone here just seems so loving. So, I said, yeah, they really are. I said, it's kind of what we teach. And Tiffany told him we were Scientology. And I had to explain all over again that that's just her comedic way. Yes. Um, but that really happened. But he really did experience. And when he left, he said, you have no idea. I left my house really upset about something. And I was walking through the neighborhood, and I heard you singing, and I stopped just to listen. And now I feel like my whole day has shifted. I'm changed. And now I'm going home, and I can figure out whatever I need to figure out. And I watched him walk away, and I went, that's the connection. And how did it happen? Through the vibration of sound, through music. Just hearing a vibration. And music, where's Bonnie? Music is the food of love. So play on, says Shakespeare. So music is that vibration, that energy. And it reached out, and it grabbed people last night. But you don't need to walk around singing. In fact, probably don't. Or I may be visiting you somewhere. But you can bring all of that energy to play. As Brene Brown says, connection is energy that exists between us, Craig. Where I say to you, I see you, I hear you, and I value you. How often do we just walk by people, we don't even notice them? There are so many homeless people living on the streets right now. Do we avoid the glance? Are we afraid they're going to ask us for something? Or do we just say hello? You know, there's nothing wrong in saying, hi, how's your day? That's the connection I feel that we're losing. We're too worried about cleaning the streets up in our neighborhood of these homeless because it doesn't go with our decor. It's time for us to connect more. And not just to other people, but to ourselves. So, the question I have for you today is, how is your connection to life? Not how is your connection to your life. How is your connection to life? Life itself. All of life. Not just people, but things, plants, animals, the atmosphere. How is your connection to life? There's a Harvard astrophysicist, his name is Neil deGrasse Tyson, and this was his quote. You all know, how many know him? He's pretty amazing, yeah. We are all connected to each other biologically. To the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. We are all connected. We're not separate. Separate countries doesn't mean that we are separate. It means that some people decided to put lines up and say we are different. We are the people. Now is the time for us to really claim this thing called oneness. To really start recognizing I am one with everything. I'm connected to everything. So again, how good right now, how connected are you to life, to all of life? And that does mean to the people in your household, by the way. It doesn't mean to look out, I can fix all that. No, first of all, how are you connected to yourself? How connected are you to your feelings, to what's going on in your life, in your body? How connected are you? Don't ignore it. Don't pretend it's not going on, whatever it is. Look at it. Deal with it. It was interesting. Where was I where this was just brought up? Ernest Holmes says, in treatment, turn entirely away from the condition. But it's so important to remember what that means. In treatment, turn entirely away from the condition. I think it was Thursday night in our advanced consciousness class. But before you turn to treatment, see the universe. Know that you are connected to it all, and anything you see that doesn't feel good, now turn entirely away from whatever that is and know the truth about it and watch how it heals. Watch how it explodes, expands. No matter what it is, finances, health, relationships, all of it, creative expression, all of it. Another quote that I pulled up for today is from John Muir in his book, The Mountains of California. And he says this, and anybody know we live in California? I know Brad does, because Brad knows that there are mountains to be climbed, and so does Karen. Climb the mountains. and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop away from you like the leaves of autumn. How many of you have been to the Muir Woods? Yeah, if you haven't, you need to go. Because when you stand with those giant trees, you really get a sense of your place in all of it. And not the smallness. You start to realize you are all of it. So it's not just about connection to people, it's about connection to everything. Everything. When it rains, be connected to the rain. Don't just curse it. I was driving in the rain the other day, and I don't know what it is, but somehow in California, when it rains, no one knows how to drive. Has anyone noticed that? It rains, and everybody's like, oh my God, what's happening? It's rain, folks. Go back east and try to drive through the snow. They'd be like, what is that? But rain is also part of what you are connected to. This week during Spirit Breath, it was raining, and we did a Spirit Breath just about the rain, and I was like, everybody should be outside. So in our meditation, I brought everybody through a visualization of being outdoors, 3 years old, and dancing in the rain. Because that's what we're here to do, right? We are here to dance in the rain, or sing in the rain. Some of us got to do that. Broadway reference, 1047. So the title of my talk today, in case you didn't know, is, Are You Ready? Are you ready to pay attention to the connection going on all around you? Look at that picture. What's it look like up there? Yeah. Look at that picture. See that little man right there with his hands up? That's how I envision myself, connected to everything. That's why in Spirit Breath we raise our arms every morning, right, Kayla? And we reach and we extend, right, Jill? We just allow ourselves to feel that connection to everything, feel the particles beaming out of our hands and touching all of those particles. So my question to you as we get towards the end of this year is, are you ready? Are you ready to pay attention to the fact that you are connected to everything? Everyone and everything. Do you think you can live your life from that place? I think you can. And you don't have to be on a mountain, crisscrossed and all pretzeled up, meditating to be that. Once you know it, once you get it, you live from it. And that's what I'm suggesting, that we start really understanding our connection. Are you ready to be connected, to pay attention to the connection going on all around you and all within you? So there's a poet, a Mumbai-based poet. Her name is Sanobar Khan. Has anyone ever heard of her? I didn't think so. She has a beautiful book called Poems of the Soul. And I invite you to just take a deep breath, if you would, and close your eyes. She writes this: fall in love with the energy of the mornings. Trace your fingers along the hull of the afternoons. Take the spirit of the evenings in your arms and kiss it deeply. And then make love to the tranquility of the nights. Take a deep breath, and you can open your eyes. So are you ready to have that experience of life? Falling in love with the energy all around you, making love to this beautiful vibration called life. Feeling from the inside out who you are so deeply that nothing else is going to matter. Who would like that? That you are so deeply ingrained in who you are that these piddly, stupid, unimportant things that take up so much of our minds no longer matter. Because I get it, what I'm really connected to. I am not connected to the world of form other than understanding it's what I put there. I am what created it in the first place, as are you, as are we all. So that kind of experience of life comes right out of the lyrics, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Just imagine that. We sing it every year. But imagine what that looks like, these beautiful pieces of food on a fire exploding and getting in this beautiful taste. I'm connected to that. I'm connected to the fire. I'm connected to the tree that grew it. I'm connected to all of it. Jack Frost nipping at your nose. The cold. I am the cold. I complain about the cold sometimes, but now, all this week when it's been really cold in the morning, I put on more clothes. I mean, here's the thing about that. You can put on more clothes. And I don't complain about the heat anymore either, even though you can only take off so much. But once you're all off, it's like, well, here's a pool, swim in it. There's always something positive to do rather than complain. Anyone in Monday night's class knows we are not complaining during the whole 10 weeks of class, and then hopefully off into the future. So I'm going to close today with Dr. Ernest Holmes, who said this: now that you have discovered the spiritual universe, you are going to have a lot of joy sailing around this world of yours. Don't fight the opinions of others or waste your time arguing over these things. Follow the inward gleam of your consciousness, and you will arrive. I bet most of you have never seen that quote from Ernest Holmes. It's an amazing quote. Now that you have discovered the spiritual universe, that's what we're here to do, isn't it? Isn't this really why we come on a Sunday? To remind ourselves, I am a spiritual being living in a spiritual universe, governed by my use of a spiritual law, the law of cause and effect. That's how powerful I am. That's how powerful you are. When you stick with the truth, and you know who you are, and you know what this world is, and that you are connected to all of it as all of it, then you are going to have a lot of joy sailing around this world of yours. Lots of joy. Joy to the world. And then I love his reminder to us. Don't fight the opinions of others or waste your time arguing over these things. What for? When you know the truth, you don't need to argue. Follow the inward gleam of your consciousness, and you will arrive. So here's my question. Are you ready to arrive at the moment when you recognize that you are connected to everything? We get to, you know. We get to arrive. But you know where you arrive to? The start. The starting point. I think most of us have spent our whole lives preparing to live, not necessarily living. I feel like we've been in rehearsal for fricking ever for this amazing production called Lisa Carey's Life, and we're all watching it. I think that's what's going on. And we have been spending our whole lives studying Ernest Holmes. Oh, I'm sure many of you can quote back to me Ernest Holmes quotes, but can you live them? Because that's what he said for us to do. I love when he said, if you're still studying this stuff in 100 years, actually he said 50. He said, if you're still studying this in 50 years, you missed what I put out in the first place. And he's right. He's right, because now it's almost 100 years. So we have arrived. Are you ready to arrive, as he says? No? Who's ready to arrive? Great. Are you ready to arrive at a consciousness that knows who it is so clearly that you know you are? I am Suzanne. I am Julio. What happens to Julio happens to me. What happens to someone in Uganda, Karen Wright, happens to me. Not just the people in my household, but them too. You can't forget them. You know, it's like, sorry, I'm dealing with Uganda. No. You got to do it all. Then you will have arrived. And I say 2022 is our year to have arrived. That's why our theme is action. Ready, set, action. Or just like a movie. When you say action, what happens, Eric? People start doing things. Hopefully that you've asked them to do. Yeah. So that's my question today. My talk title, Are You Ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to live life from that perspective? Are you ready to acknowledge that you are connected to everything and that everyone matters? And as Brene Brown says, that you can see them, you can hear them, and that you can value them. And most importantly, that when you look in the mirror every morning when you wake up, you see yourself. You hear the truth of what that is you're looking at, and you value it so profoundly that when you walk out your door, the universe listens and says, oh my God, there's an active ingredient in this universe. That's who we get to be. I am ready for that. Are you? Yes. Namaste. Do this.